Hi there. My name is Avil Beckford. I started a new project that's near and dear to my heart. It's called The One Problem. And I have guests who come on and they talk about one problem. There are tons of problems in the world, but the person is going to tackle just one of those problems. They're going to tell us what the problem is, and in 5 to 10 minutes, they're going to offer us a solution. This is for all of us to learn and grow. Today, my special guest is Sandra Lisi. I met her a few months ago. A dear friend introduced her to me, and we support each other on Instagram. So, Sandra is the founder, she's a leadership coach. Sandra in the city, the coach. I always get a hoot out of it because city is Sity, and she has her own flair. So, Sandra, let's turn it over to you.
Avel, thank you so much for having me join your One Problem. It's a pleasure to be here. And as women, we seem to be really busy doing so many things. And the one problem that I'm here to speak about today is time management. And how do we make the most out of the 1,440 minutes we all have in a day? And so there's often times at the end of your day, my day, I sit and I think about what did I accomplish today? How did I use those 1,440 minutes with our to-do lists that keep growing, family priorities, work priorities? And sometimes it gets really, really hard to stay on track. And so I look at time as one of our most valuable assets. You can spend it however you choose, but for me, how do I make the most out of the 1,440 minutes in 24 hours? There's a bunch of things that I've had to learn to do over time because feeling overwhelmed and stressed and overburdened and being pulled in so many different directions left me feeling so depleted and exhausted. And it actually left me a little demoralized that I wasn't able to accomplish what I had set out to do in the day. So we also need to take rest into consideration because that is what fuels us. That is what keeps us going, allows our body to recharge, our mind to recharge. So I'm going to break it down. It may sound a little elementary, but when I think about the 1,440 minutes, I'm a 7 hour sleep required person. If not, I become hangry, angry, and everything else in between. So I try to take my 420 minutes of rest. So now I'm left with 1,020 minutes. I have a family to care for. And for us, family time is meal time, and dinners together at the end of the day are how we come together. So now I'm taking 120 minutes out of that by time prepping and having a nice dinner. So I'm left with 900 minutes in my day. And I think about I need to strengthen my mind. I need to strengthen my body on a daily basis. And so intentionally, I have carved out 60 minutes a day in totality. And sometimes I break it up at morning, midday, and evening. Sometimes I use that full 60 minutes before my official day starts. And I do things that strengthen my mind and my body. So, movement, exercise, meditation, prayer. However, I choose to spend those 60 minutes, I grant myself permission to spend that time on me. Because if not, I will be busy doing for others all day. And then oftentimes, in particular women, we will neglect ourselves and we will do that later when I have time, or we think of it as a luxury. So I've got 14 hours left during the day. If I've now factored in my mindfulness, my rest, feeding my family. And although we can't live our lives by the minute, I think what's important in my problem solving for time management is that I recognize that I need to be diligent on how I'm spending my time. So I prioritize my days. And oftentimes I have a few different businesses that I have founded and lead, and as well as a charitable organization. People are like, how do you do it all? And I think about things that are important and what are my priorities throughout the day. So I time block. And this is something common that others have used, but for me, I've had to become really disciplined at time blocking. So whether that's in your phone, in your computer, I'm old school in a lot of ways. So I like my notebook. I like to carry my notebook with me. I do keep them in my phone so it beeps at me, but I like to keep things written in my notebook. So when I look at a week and I look at the 7 days in its entirety, I think about meeting days. There's days I need to have meetings, and rather than having them throughout the 5 or 7 days, I pick 2 days a week, and those are my meeting days. I will have my meetings those days. I will attend any meetings I need to, but they're 2 days a week, and I don't do them back to back. I stagger them. So I have, for example, a Tuesday filled with meetings and a Thursday filled with meetings. I find that that helps me as well, know that those are the days that I have to be in meetings and I will get those done. Another thing that I do is I carve out focus time or thinking time, and I literally block it in my calendar as thinking time or focus time. And those are time slots that I reserve for when I need to do some thinking, strategic thinking, creating content. And that could be a couple of days a week. It could be a couple of hours a day, whatever works for you, but carving out focus or thinking time. My next block of time is buffer time, because we're all addicted to these devices. And so I feel like giving myself buffer time, which is my checking social media, calling friends, catching up on things not specifically work related, but that's my time to connect. And so I actually have buffer time. So I know that, I'm going to give myself a 15-minute break every now and then to do those things. And then really important, and this ties into the work that you do, Avel, is learning time. And to me, people say, well, I wish I had time to read, or I wish I had time to take an online course. Well, it's important that you make the time. And so carving out on a weekly basis, I have a learning time. And whether that's reading a book, attending an online course, listening to a podcast, whatever vehicle that is for me, I make sure that I have something to learn for that week. And sometimes I have to do that on the weekends because my work week is filled. And so I'll make myself a cup of coffee on a Saturday, and I will spend an hour or two learning, reading, something that stimulates my mind rather than do all the time. So learning is a key element because you need to keep your mind sharp and learn from others, learn new techniques. And then I talked about mind strengthening time. And that is, again, whatever that work, what that is for you, if it's yoga, if it's prayer, if it's meditation, if it's just being still and journaling, is to carve out that time. So when we think about all of that information I just gave you, you think, well, now that's a lot of work to be able to do that. And I don't have the time to do that. Well, for me, I've had to be able to pick a morning. So Sunday mornings for me, when the house is quiet and others are still sleeping, that's my planning time. And I carve out that hour or two and I look at the weeks ahead and I look at the month and I see, what does this month look like? What needs to be done next week, the following, etc. And that's how I chunk it out. Since I started doing this practice, I have to be honest, Apple, I have felt accomplished at the end of the day. I'm not as overwhelmed as I was feeling. I'm not breaking down in tears by the night because I haven't completed what I set out to do. And I actually go to sleep feeling accomplished, and I allow my mind and body to rest. And you're not going to get everything done. And some days you'll slip, and then there might be days where meetings trickle into others because you can't have full control of everything. But what you can control is how you intentionally spend your day. And I've had to become very disciplined at that. in the sense where I said, I'm going to try this for 30 days. And I think the whole learning a new habit or changing a behavior requires at least that amount of time. And what I started as, I'm just going to try it for 30 days and see how it works for me, has become, in my case, life changing, because I'm not crusty and grumpy for most days, because I feel like I have a handle on my days, my weeks. I know what's due. I'm not panicking at the 11th hour. Oh, I have a presentation to give tomorrow morning and it's 2 o'clock and I haven't started yet. I know what's coming up in my calendar. I know what speaking engagements I'm going to be participating in. I know what workshops I'll be facilitating. And so it's planning ahead of time so that I'm not burnt out, exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained. So there's so many other things that we could do to really take back our time and control of our time. But these for me have been key steps that I've taken and have made a huge difference. And I encourage people, if they don't even know where to start, is just grab a sheet of paper and write down all the things you need to do, all the places you need to go, any appointments you have, and start blocking those time slots in a calendar. You can get them at the dollar store. You can download them online. You can use them in your phone. But it's important that for your mental clarity and organization, that you put those thoughts to paper. I always say, Avel, I only have so much space in my head. And if I try to keep every single thing in there, it's going to be so overwhelming. So for me, when I write it down or I enter it into my phone or I onto my computer, it actually feels like I literally envision the freeing of space, and I've now transitioned that to somewhere where I can reference it rather than trying to remember everything. How many people make a grocery list and then you forget it at home? And you're trying to go by memory through the aisles. Put it on paper, keep that sacred, and allow yourself the time to get into a new routine. And I would love to hear if people do implement this technique because it has served me well. So with that, I thank you for having me participate, and I hope that my solving of my time management problem is of benefit to others as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Sandra, because I know about time blocking, but I'm not very religious about it. I'm going to try it your way so that I can accomplish more. So thank you so much. And this was an awesome interview.